Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education meeting November 14th, 2024. Let's please stand for the pledge. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Item number 3, standing approval items. 3.1, acceptance of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, agenda is accepted as presented. Item number 3.2, approval of minutes. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Cook?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes: October 3rd, 2024, special minutes for Facilities and Finance, and October 10th, 2024, regular minutes.
Thank you. Can we have a second? Mrs. Haynes. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, proclamations. 4.1, Native American Heritage Month. Mrs. Haynes.
Whereas the United States Congress has designated the month of November as Native American Heritage Month, and Royal Oak Schools joins in honoring the rich histories, cultures, and enduring contributions of Native American and Alaskan Native people in our society, and whereas a congressional resolution proclaiming Native American Heritage Month was first passed in 1990, and Governor Gretchen Whitmer issued a proclamation declaring November as Native American Heritage Month in Michigan on November 1st, 2024. And whereas Michigan is home to many indigenous nations, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Wyandot people, whose histories are deeply interwoven with the land and the history of the state, and whereas Native American and Alaskan Native communities have made significant contributions throughout history in areas such as governance, agriculture, environmental stewardship, language, and the arts, enriching the cultural fabric of the United States and promoting sustainable practices that are essential to building a better future while also preserving distinct traditions, values, and worldviews. And whereas Native American Heritage Month serves as an important reminder to reflect on the resilience of Native American and Alaskan Native people, acknowledge their historical and ongoing struggles, and honor their profound impact on both our past and future, as well as their immeasurable contributions to the state of Michigan and beyond. Now, therefore, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education hereby proclaim the month of November as Native American Heritage Month at Royal Oak Schools.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call?
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 5, public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place the card in the basket prior to the citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are offered a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or their designee for review, study, and possible future response. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. I have Michael Worster.
Hello again. last time I was not prepared. Came back a little bit more prepared. You should have also gotten the printout. Perfect. Appreciate it. Just forewarning, and for those watching, trigger warnings of school shootings and violence towards children and or infants. On a lighter note, I did hear a dad joke last week. It was the first time I heard of it. Wanted to share. I imagine my dad, he has a gruffer voice than I. What's the difference between ignorance and apathy? I don't know, and I don't care. No single person can have their finger on the pulse of everything going on in their community. It's physically impossible. And so I don't know is super valid. I don't care depends on the situation. 3 years ago, I was holding my 2-year-old on the 3rd floor unit in Northside Chicago. It's not a dangerous area. That year, I called in 2 separate instances of gunshots. I'm here. We moved. And it's not because there's any less of a danger in Royal Oak, but the danger is more readily mitigated. I have more control as a parent in this community than I do in a large city like Chicago. So why do I say that there isn't any less danger? I'll be citing the K-12 school shooting database, a resource provided 2 months ago, the last time I spoke in this room, on my slip of paper. And this right here, which you have a printout of, and more than happy to email, of course, too, is their interactive map. It has 300 red dots on there. Those are all active school shootings for only the year of 2024. You don't really hear about school shootings. But that is only K-12. There are no preschools, and there are no colleges on this map. Each one is dated and cited. I'll read a few. May 21st, 2024, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Middle school student shot in face outside the school. March 11th, 2024. Temple, Texas. 1-year-old fatally shot on school playground. May 31st, 2024. Saginaw, Michigan. Man shot during late night party on campus after graduation. 3 school shootings this year alone. Even though they're not during school hours, the school is still liable. The data goes as far back as 1966 for this database. This is a timeline, 1970 to present. It is a graph showing how many school shootings have been occurring. 1/3 of all school shootings in the history have been since 2018. That is 5 years, 5.5 years. It's never been over 100 school shootings in any given year until 2018, and only then did it drop below 100 in 2020, for obvious reasons, I would hope. It hit 74 in the short time that we had school in 2020. We have a resource officer in the building and a tight relationship with our police department, so where would a shooting occur? Inside of our walls? No. The big bar up here, 693 school shootings out of the almost 3,000 since 1966, all occurred in the parking lot. The second biggest bar, down here, 319 at the front doors of schools. We're talking entry and dismissals. It's not within our walls. It's almost everywhere else. Oh, and this little bar down here, 74. The second one from the left. That's the playground. That 1-year-old from Temple, Texas is in that bar. Even if it did happen here, we would be able to find them, right? Oh, this one. Pie chart. So it's out of 100% percentages. 2/3, the yellow and the red. I'll read those two. The 2 biggest data points on the subject was fled and apprehended later. That's 35% of the time. The second being the subject fled and escaped justice. That is 39% of the time. They were stopped by an SRO 6% of the time. Again, 1/3 of all school shootings happened since 2018. We had technology. I would never bring problems without bringing answers. Gun attestations. A good friend of mine brought that up 2 months ago. I know that there's a security council happening in December. I look forward to seeing what comes out of it, of course. But gun attestations, the benefits, knowing that there's a safety awareness in the home, struggles to prevent an aggravated attempt by an adult. In other words, an adult still has access to the gun. So if we're talking a domestic dispute, which has occurred this year, that can occur on the school property. Security camera systems is answer number 2. Cameras benefit as a deterrent, allows for review and study of weaknesses after an event. It does require monitoring and cannot categorize data points if we're going to use it as a preventative. And smart security software is the 3rd one, which I gave my contact information. I'd be able to present in more detail, as well as swatting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And I'll ask Ms. Sutterfield to share the supporting documentation.
Would you like me to email it? I was looking at it, and it's really hard to read,
Um,
just because it's very, very small.
Yeah, if you send it to Mrs. Fitzpatrick, we'll make sure that all of us will get a copy of
Right.
it.
I do apologize for that.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Belém Morales? Do you want to wait for this? We do have a second public comment. Did you want to wait for the second?
Yeah, pass me, I'll be at the end.
Okay, well, this is the end of the first public comment, so the second one is later down the agenda.
First is fine, I just need like 2 minutes to look at it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 6, recognitions, presentations, and reports. 6.1, diversity, equity, inclusion. Ms. Phillips?
Good evening, everyone. We've got a few November DEI updates, a few that have carried on from the end of October as well. So we'll start off with professional learning, some ROS DEI PDs as well, student presentations and assemblies, an RDJ update, and wrapping up with the Jedi Educator Summit. So mid-October, I, along with other Royal Oak staff members, were able to attend the Restorative Practices Collaborative, and I have to shout out our ISD Oakland Schools. They have invaluable resources and invaluable staff members that collaborate and coordinate all of the efforts there. So this particular effort was hosted by Dr. Julie McDaniel-McDoom. She's a safety and well-being consultant for Oakland Schools, but she's also an advanced certified trauma practitioner and trainer and a certified restorative practitioner and trainer with the International Institute for Restorative Practices. During this full-day workshop, we were able to learn how to and participate in facilitating community building circles, community dialogues, listening circles, and trauma-informed restorative practices, and much more. At the end of this workshop, all of the participants were able to join the first Oakland Listening Circle Collaborative, and we'll have more details about that, but that's multi-counties coming together. And with fingers crossed, we'll hopefully be able to hold a 2-day foundational training from the International Institute for Restorative Practices right here in Royal Oak. So a lot of our staff members who are not trained in restorative practices yet can be trained then. Moving on to the Michigan LGBTQ+ Students Project. This is sponsored by the Michigan Department of Ed. We've had a few sessions and really good ones. So far we've had laying the foundations and staying current, just talking about legal and policy issues returning to LGBTQ+ students and school staff, when bias gets in the way, and how to address it with our students and our families. And the last one, which was very, very informative, was listening to understand, and this was more of a panel of students who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, talking about their experiences in Michigan schools, good and not so good, and where we have room for growth. The really good thing was listening to them and them offering during our Q&A session some support of how, or actually some input of how we can best support them as staff, school staff. Royal Oak is on the right track. They said providing counselors and social workers and trusted adults in the buildings, us listening to them in general, and providing those safe spaces outside the classroom, such as our Saga Club. So we're doing the right things and we're moving forward with that. I've also been able to partake in neurodiversity and education series, and a lot of our staff members from the special ed department have joined on this as well, and it's just embracing diversity. The first few things that we've talked about were just understanding the autistic neurotype, compliance and connection, and this one talked about masking and how autistic individuals may have to mask some of their different traits and symptoms in classes, and how to avoid that so they can be their authentic selves. And the last one was just neurodiversity affirming special education support. Another thing that I loved about this series, and it's a 15 session series as well throughout the school year, is that a lot of the individuals that we'll hear from either are neurodivergent themselves or they have a neurodivergent child at home. So they're coming with lots of experience firsthand. And lastly, the Systems of Inequity in Oakland Schools. This is hosted by Cornelius Godfrey, our diversity, equity, inclusion consultant. We first started with the Introduction to Culturally Responsive School Leadership Framework. That's by Dr. Muhammad Khalifa. Later in the school year, he's actually going to join us for the closing session. But our next session in a few weeks is going to be strengthening family engagement and creating authentic partnerships. And on to our Royal Oak Schools DEI-PD. A lot of our ad council meetings this year are going to be DEI based. We started off actually in October with a session with Kim Phillips Knope. She is the director of the Michigan LGBTQ+ Students Project. For this one, she personalized a PD for us. So, and actually it's going to be 2 sessions. And this was based upon just foundations and terminology, elements of support that we can offer for our students and staff. She specified it with Royal Oak Schools data and took in a lot of input of student and staff requests of what we want to know more of. We usually just have administrators at these meetings, but for these 2 particular sessions, we wanted to make sure that we have more representation across the board, so each building principal brought along a lot of staff to join in for this as well. And on the other side, we'll have 4 of our ad council meetings with Cornelius Godfrey. He is going to wrap all of our sessions around the cultural proficiency framework, and during those sessions, we'll just address bias, microaggressions, privilege, and identity. And we are really excited for our ad council meetings for that. Continuing on with our late start, DEI-PD, we had our session 1 of implicit bias part 2. Back in the spring, we had implicit bias part 1, just the overviews and outcomes of everything. But for this one, we dived a little deeper with recognizing and responding to microaggressions. The teams were armed with the action framework of how to address a microaggression. We looked into what microaggressions were, and we actually were able to stop and put it into practice, where we broke into partner groups and were able to walk through different prompts and respond as if we were the student who was targeted by a microaggression or a teacher or educator witnessing that microaggression target happening between 2 students and how to address those. I'm also offering a Menti mini course on December 4th. It's going to be about connections, relationships, and inclusive environments. And this is really good because I'll be able to reconnect with a lot of the new staff members that I met at new staff orientation in August. Student presentations and assemblies have continued. I've been going into schools just doing the DEI overview and reinforcing PBIS along with the matrices that the students have with their principals and their staff members, exercising empathy, talking about inclusion and belonging, and being upstanders and standing up and using your voices. On the other side, I've been able to collaborate with Melissa Walega, one of our ASTs, to talk about neurodiversity. And we came together to first look at what do we need to teach our general ed students and staff, especially if they had changes in their buildings where they added ASD programs or however. So one of the big things that we wanted to do was first just introduce them to different things, learning about neurodiversity and what it means, about how we can celebrate differences, and definitely how to ask questions and coming from a place of curiosity and not judgment. So they see different things in the classroom, they see different things on the playground, in the lunchroom, but also in Walmart or Target, in different stores. So how do we react, and what are the things that we're saying? And moving on to the religious diversities journeys, I was able to go on the last field trip last week, actually, with the 7th graders at ROMS. We went to the Islamic Organization of North America, and out of all the field trips that I've been on in my lifetime, this was one of the most amazing ones. The students are actually going to come in February and talk to you all about all of their journeys after they're done, but this is just a sneak peek. So we had about 3 different rounds where we went into different rooms and learned about different things. We broke into groups and completed different things using our passports that they give us for every trip. And at the end, one of the most heart-touching things, because it was very nice to learn about the culture and learn about different religions and to come together to eat our culturally connected lunch. But we did a service project, and we made placemats for the team turkey meal donation. So what I was told by their director is towards the end of November, they'll get everything together and deliver the turkeys and meal donation along with the placemats that we created. So these are just the starting drafts of some of what the students did. I'm going to read out this message to you just in case you can't see it. Happy Thanksgiving. Be thankful for the day, for the meal, for your family, and for blessings in life. No matter who you are, be thankful. And last but not least, we're wrapping up with our Jedi Educator Summit. We had multi-county representation. There was approximately 200 attendees. There were 12 sessions, and that included the opening keynote with Cornelius Godfrey speaking and the closing panel discussion. And I was able to host the Relationships Rocks. It was about classroom culture and connections. And we just talked about the importance of authentic relationships. And the most amazing thing was, at the beginning of my session, I found out that not only was my 8th grade science teacher in the room, and he signed up when he saw my name, but also the parents of 2 of my former students. So it made it very, very impactful there. So I'm just gonna walk you all through a little bit of the day. Thank you. Oh,
Thank you. There we go.
I just had a quick question. On one of the slides, I believe it was in reference to LGBTQ PD, it said that you had used Royal Oak Schools data, and I just wondered what that, is that surveys, is that
Yes,
some
it
other
was
sort
a
of
survey
data?
at our middle school, just with the physical health.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
No.
Mr. Trehorsky?
Yeah, I just need to thank Ms. Phillips. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and I took a DI class, and every component that the leader of the class spoke of beforehand, she asked us to raise our hands if our district were doing those things. And because of the work that you're doing, I was able to raise my hand for every single one of them. She had to stop the class and say, "Wait, where are you from?"
Thank you
Right,
for
thank you
sharing
so much.
that. That is amazing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And I did want to ask, and with Mrs. Fitzpatrick here too, is there, if there's ever an opportunity for some of us board members to attend a session that's, not just necessarily, an all-day educator session, but some sort of opportunity, I think it would be a nice opportunity for us as well. I think we can always have refreshers as well. So if there's ever an opportunity, I would appreciate just knowing about it. So.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for all the work you do. Like Tim
Thank
said, I
you.
think it's recognized outside, the boundaries of Royal Oak. And so for that, we're very, very grateful.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Oh, Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you. So, Ms. Phillips, just thank you again for the comprehensive reports monthly. I know I will just share with the board that what you see here with regard to what happened during the month, we get daily from Ms. Phillips. And it really speaks to her ability to engage our students in their own learning, to engage our staff, to, create opportunities for folks to be educated and motivated around the right topics, to serve our students. And Dr. Ioannis and I did attend the Jedi Summit, and it is the first annual. I understand they're already making plans for next year. But it really made me even more proud to be in the district to see one of our very own as a key presenter for a multi-county experience, and to know that Ashley represented all of the good things that we're working on, but even more importantly, the work that she's committed to as a professional. And that made me very proud to be there on that day. So thank you, Ms. Phillips, for all your work and for representing us so well at the conference as well.
And you just reminded me, there was one additional slide. So speaking of future planning, yes, we did shout out that fall 2025, we will have our next summit, but before then, we will have our Jedi Student Diversity Summit in 2025. So it's gonna be April 29th, and our Student Diversity Club at the high school is definitely participating. We have a new sponsor this year, Nancy Sly, and she's on board and ready. So we're excited for that, and thank you for reminding me about that one.
Thank you. That's a great opportunity for our students. And that's at Oakland Schools, so
Yes,
it's
that's going to
county.
be Oakland School's main campus.
Oh, okay. Oh, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 6.2, student representatives to the board. We have Charlie and Leilani.
Hello. So I'm just gonna talk about our last school board luncheon. A lot was said at this one, and there was like a really good turnout compared to the last school board lunch. We talked about the Roost and bringing it back to like its pre-pandemic prime. The Roost is a club where coffee is sold before school, and we also talked about virtual classes and like finding a way to connect the students who are taking those virtual classes, because it's really like a one-on-one thing. But maybe if we made like a Canvas page or something where like they could all be grouped together and then, I don't know, like meet up from there. And then also just like letting students know that online classes are like an option, and just making them more like apparent and available. We also talked about semester science classes and changing chemistry to a full year course. I know this wouldn't be that easy, but like if you wanted to do engineering at Michigan, I believe you have to have a full year of chemistry. So like, and this, I don't know if this is like also true for other colleges, but like, so then your only other choice is taking like AP or DP Chem, I believe. And there were also conversations about like clubs and field trips, and like basically making it easier for clubs to plan field trips like within their own club. There's like more that was also said, but that's pretty much like the main things that were talked about. Yeah. Does anyone have like any questions on the stuff that was discussed?
Mrs. Haynes?
Just a comment, I was at the one last month with Tim and Erica, and I have to say, it's one of my favorite things that we do. It's so good to hear from the students. And I remember our first lunch, we didn't have a lot, but then the next two, we were jam-packed. And just to hear from the students about what's important to them, and then just being around you guys is really uplifting and puts a lot of energy. Some of us need that energy, so it was great. So I hope you guys continue that, and just thank you for rounding up the kids.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, we also talked like before this meeting about making a Google form, so like when the students come in, they could like fill it out really quick, and then basically say like what they're gonna talk about, and then their email would be included in the Google form, so it'd be a lot easier to like reach out to them and then directly respond to their concerns. But,
To that exactly, I am working on a Google form to add onto the Instagram page. I just have to make sure that it's actually accessible and because there are some issues with what email to put it on. Because if I put on the ROHS, the ROHS email, other people from other districts, not other, just like other people that have their different emails on their phone will not be able to use it. So I'm trying to figure out whether I use my personal email or make another email specifically for that issue. And to add on to the other issues on this here. For the virtual classes, a lot of them have a specific meeting time, and some people just go home for them, and some people can also go into the library. So maybe adding a classroom specific for those times, being like for this class, so that way other people are able to understand exactly what's going on and where. And I'm pretty sure as we speak right now, the Mamma Mia play for the musical is going on at the high school. This is a student preview today. I would totally suggest getting tickets. My friends have worked really hard on them. I have heard a lot about it, even in the middle of class during tests. So I would totally suggest getting all that effort, because they spent a lot of it, to go see that. And I feel like it would be a great thing to see. And it just shows more funding. We get more funding for actual shows. And there are many questions I've had about Drama Club. If there are more field trips, they can go see to the Detroit Museum of Art, so they can actually see more art, see more actual Broadway shows, which those are expensive, so I suggested off-Broadway shows. And other things like that, being able to add more field trips to clubs so they get more experiences than videos that they're unable to actually go and experience in person.
Ms. Usinski?
Why do you think the lunches have been more successful? Is it just catching on, or are you guys dragging your friends? What's happening there?
I feel like it's kind of a mix of both, and the first two were earlier in the year, so I don't know, maybe people were just getting used to the school year.
Sure.
And didn't have as much concerns as they'd have as the school year goes on.
Good. I'm so glad. It's really just a great way for us to communicate. And can you remind people of what the Instagram is if they want to follow you for information?
RO School Boards. I'm pretty sure it's ROSS with there, ROSS School Board. And I also bribe my friends by telling them there's food there. And it always works. And then they end up having actual issues that they didn't even think of when they walked in. And so it always works, because it's not exactly on the forefront of their mind because they're busy with other classes and stuff. It's not, but as soon as other people's getting those ideas flowing of things that they actually have issues about, they think about other things. And so I know that tricking them to go there first, and then they have the ideas, always really helps. I don't know what it is, but it's probably psychology somewhere, but it always works.
And I think part of it, we had some people that came for the B lunch, and then they came back for the C lunch. They said, we had a few more things, so we thought we would just come back, and so they popped in for the C lunch. But I was just, I'm looking at Jarrett and Amy to maybe, I don't know if that would be helpful, to maybe them assist you with getting where you need to with the Google and kind of working through the challenge of the email. So I'm looking at both of them.
It's actually
Oh, it's tech department? Well, I will do it. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Fitzpatrick. Somebody will help them, but yeah, so that way you don't have to struggle and you can get that. Yeah, we were talking about tracking questions and stuff.
The issue is that my friends have a hard time logging onto forums because they're not signed into the school email on their phone, and they don't want to because then they get notifications for school, and those go off all the time. And yeah, I don't know, makes no sense to me. But yeah, so I was gonna make a specific email, just add another Gmail account that's specifically for the questions that are added there, so people that can't make it to the meetings or people that can't make it to the lunches or just forget to make it to the lunches, because this happened, and they're able to just get the issue communicated when they needed them.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. To be able to do that follow-up is important. And a huge shout out to Mike Jacobs and Chartwells and the high school team who provide the lunches. And I think they had to make a couple trips back because we had so many kids show up. So that was actually a nice problem to have. So very grateful for that. Thank you both. Appreciate your efforts. Item 6.3, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Sure, thank you. So one of the primary functions for us in the district is, of course, always communicating with our community, with the board, with our staff members, our students, and communication comes up often. Tonight, we're just going to, I will have Amy Murphy highlight some of the work that she does within the department, who else supports our broad goals for communication, and then just a little bit about where we are here within the district. And so I invite Ms. Murphy up to give us a highlights and some updated information about all of our district communications. So, Ms. Murphy.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Communications, sharing the good news stories of the district. Where'd it go? And we just talked about how using your own computer makes it work better. It's my trackpad, and Mary Beth knows that. Okay, so starting out, we are found throughout the district's strategic plan. We're highlighted in Goal 2, which we'll show you later. But in Goal 2, we believe student experiences are enhanced by partnering with the community, and collaboration with neighborhood businesses and organizations is essential. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how we do that in communications. Okay, that doesn't look right. I know I skipped one. So our department is 3. It is small but mighty. There's me, the communications specialist, Jared Grissomer, our multimedia specialist, and our co-op student, AJ Mikos. And what makes us strong is getting to work with so many different members of our staff and with students on projects. I have the hang of this, I think, now. Public relations, that's the main focus, right, of communications. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do. Yes, you can see lots of little bullets up there, so I will explain them a bit. Collaboration with local TV, radio, digital, and paper media. Sharing good news stories and information on social media. We have 7 platforms, so you can try to find those. Collaboration, editor, and reviewer of our principal newsletters. Recently brought Some More into our district. Some More is a newsletter platform, so all staff members could have accounts and do newsletters. Letters from the district, from the superintendent's desk to the elementary school to the high school, I collaborate on, I edit and review. Family communications, calls, texts, emails, snow days. To share information on a snow day takes like 30 minutes. We have so many platforms that we share it on. So you don't know that because they all hit at the same time when it works correctly. Remind is a mass communication tool that we've been able to add. This tool can text all staff or families right away in case of an emergency. Of course, write articles for the dispatch, which I'll talk a bit more about later. The Royal Oak Today and Your Schools, Royal Oak Insights. Committees, I'll see who can keep the count up here. I'm on the Safety Committee, the Arts and Preservation Committee, the Communications Committee, of course, MLK Junior Day Committee, Sustainability Committee. We just did the Oakland 100. I oversaw that committee. And other committees as needed. And I am also on the Michigan State PR Association Marketing Committee. Proud to have started staff and student recognition. People can fill out a form. It's a Google form like we were just talking about. It goes back to me, and I can draw that information and create a staff shout out or a student feature shout out that we then publicize on the dispatch or in staff newsletter or on social media. So excited to do that. I work with many businesses and community groups in Royal Oak, solicit for donations for Teacher Appreciation Month and other events, ask groups to join us for back to school events, and keep in good standing with them all year. And behind the marketing and promotion of district events, which may include advertising in print, on radio, or even on a bus. Don't know if anyone saw our bus advertising recently for adult education. So we like to really try different things. Let's see, as far as events go, there's planning of the event. That includes food, getting the staff involved, working with volunteers, promoting and attending. And there's lots of multimedia projects. Maybe we make a video of an event, take photos, and make a reel for Instagram, Facebook Live, at Red, White, and Blue Day, or halftime show, or write a story for a publication. And for the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to mentor students at the high school on social media best practices, reviewing, critiquing, and making suggestions on our co-op student work. Like Ms. Phillips, I recently taught 3 classes for all staff for our back to school at the beginning of the year. It was on communications and the district, what you need to know, and they were well attended, and they all got prizes. I think they knew I gave away stuff, but It was great, and I have been asked to come back and teach next month for mini mentor sessions, right? And I'll be teaching, I think, for 90 minutes on communication best practices for new staff. So that's exciting. We've implemented peach jars since I've been here, which is ending the passing out of paper flyers to students and reaching thousands of families with opportunities for learning, extracurricular activities, tutoring, and more, and saving trees. Of course, I am the website manager. I train staff on how to use it, post and edit content, update it regularly, and just a little bit of news for the website. It only launched a couple falls ago, and we have won an award for excellence in our website in 2023. And then last fall launched the custom mobile app, which won an award this year. So that's all. I'm sure I missed some. But the most important thing about communications and the district is connecting and staying connected with the community. And we like to do that with not just families of our community and students and staff, but everyone else that we can reach within the community. We do that again through the local publications, through the social media, and being present at events representing the district as a group, as myself, whatever it takes to stay connected. One of our number one ways we do that is through the district dispatch. So a little bit of information on that. It is published monthly. It's the beginning of the month. It features all sorts of things, new employees, key initiatives, student features. We have our calendar in there, job opportunities, how you can reach people. It is sent to over 6,000 emails. That's all of our families. And the open rate is over 54%. Now, at first I was like, well, why would you want to share that? It's not 100%. And then I learned that 54% is really, really good for an open rate. So keep that in mind. Oh, I meant to say the award-winning dispatch, because we have recently been recognized by the National School Public Relations Association 2 years in a row for Award of Excellence, and the Michigan School Public Relations Association a Merit Award this year. And if you're wondering what happened in 2023, I didn't submit it. So, but now I will, and I will keep doing that so we can be annually recognized. And speaking of the number one way, Facebook is still the king of social media for our families. We asked families in a communication survey about social media, and they all voted Facebook as the place they check for information first part of the day. First and foremost, that's where they go. So we make sure that our Facebook has daily reminders, good news stories, highlights of events and sports, interviews, student contributions, art, photo, music, biology, math, everything that we can cover gets covered and shared. Just look at the numbers. That was just recently. That was just in the last month. So we're really excited about that. Total number of followers right now, we have over 7,000 and 710 following this year, which is wonderful. I remember last year at one point putting out a post that said, help us get to 5,000. So this is wonderful. And why is that important? Because the more people that actually follow us, then it reaches more pages, and the reach is what you really want. And I know that gets a bunch of algorithm stuff, so I won't bore you with that. But I did get to sit on a panel for the Michigan State PR Association this spring as the Facebook expert, and was asked to give tips and tricks to hundreds of schools in attendance on how we do it. So that's a compliment to all of us. We're often admired and inspiring other districts with our coverage on Facebook. Student social connections. You may recognize Mr. Kelly there on our Instagram. He took it over today for us. Students may not be on Facebook. Let's ask these guys, are you on Facebook? No. Yes. Well, 50-50. And that's why we still do student stuff on Facebook as well. But students are on Instagram, numbers say. Our account is only 3 years old. It has over 1,487 followers, and just the last 28 days, our followers increased by 16.2%. Connections with students is important. About twice a year, I recruit a student. Right now, it's been from the high school, but I have talked to some of the elementary schools about doing this as well. And they come on and do a takeover like Dakota Kelly, senior at the high school, did today. The post sharing, the one that's up there, that he was going to take over, had a reach of over 1,191 people. I know it's numbers, but I just mentioned we only have 1,400 followers. So that reach was almost to every single one of our followers. So very impressive. And it was actually up 214% from our medium of our regular reach on social posts. So just the fact that we promoted a student taking it over, like, exploded all over Instagram. So that was wonderful. And why do we do a takeover? To engage our student population, to give students a chance to tell their story, why representing the district is important to them, and of course to increase our reach. There might be a little bit of, other meanings to it. Student coverage. Our YouTube page is home for district productions. On our YouTube channel, you can see board meetings produced by Jarrett Grissomer, award-winning videos from curriculum and instruction, highlights of happenings and sporting events, plus much more. Many projects on our YouTube page are actually produced by students. YouTube is the #1 site that people go to, and just look at last month's numbers. It's amazing. About our co-op program. Our student co-ops are not new, however. Our district co-op program this is a production co-op. The student is from Mike Conrad's TV and film class and interviews for the position with Jarrett Grissomer and myself. The student is supervised by Mr. Grissomer and receives assignments from myself and Jarrett. His work is shared with me for review and critiquing before it's approved for sharing on Facebook or YouTube or in the district dispatch. And my hope is to extend this program, perhaps bring in students who are interested in learning more about school marketing, promotions, event planning, writing, or social media coordination. We have achievements from our co-ops, and we're very proud of our students. Our co-op, Faye, the name on the bottom there from 2022, she worked with me on a content generation project with Class Intercom. She was so impressive, Class Intercom came to me and wanted to enter her into the National Quill and Scroll Honor Society, which she did, and she's a member of that. In the last couple of years, we have had some excellent storytellers as co-ops. Toby Buckham wanted to leave a mark on his time at Royal Oak High School and came up with a now famous snow day video, Snowhemian Rhapsody. Toby was nominated for a Michigan Emmy, and Mr. Grissomer and himself were recognized by the Michigan School PR Association as well that year. Class of 2024 senior Sam Clunky was very active at ROHS and brought that enthusiasm to his work at the district. Sam asked if he could do a documentary on the Berkeley Royal Oak football rivalry. After some discussion and direction, he began production. He worked closely with Mr. Grissomer and Mr. Conrad, and that paid off. Sam's video was shown to the entire football team, nominated for a Michigan Emmy, and won, and is now nominated for a National Student Emmy. We did not put him up for this. They picked him, his video, and he is nominated. We're going to find out next week if he's going to win that or not. He also started a podcast his senior year, so he is leaving quite a legacy. The person in the back of the room, Mr. Jarrett Grissomer, our multimedia specialist. He has a list of jobs that may surprise you as well, and I'm sure I've left off some that he does for communications and the district that aren't even on this bullet list. He produces all our videos requested by the district, the schools, the different departments. He collaborates with principals, department heads, committees on projects, supervises everything WOAK, including programming on the channel, the students who produce the programming, the PSAs on the channel, maintenance of the channel, and promotion of the channel on social media. He consults on both the ROMS and RO High School auditorium, created how-to books for each site, works with the team on equipment upgrades, also taught a class during our back-to-school session with staff on how to use like the best practices in the auditorium. He produces our board meetings, our sporting events, and other activities like band and orchestra concerts, choir concerts, graduation ceremonies, and more, as you all know. He creates graphics, which you may not know, for all of our productions and enhances them and gets them better every year. Works with our students on that as well. Mentors and teaches the students on production best practices. He covers our district and out-of-district special events. So he covered our Royal Oak 100. He was right down there at the tree lighting ceremony that year. Our Oakland 100 celebration and special documentary, MLK Day. He works very closely with Mrs. Fitzpatrick, administrators and staff on video projects. He manages our co-op students' schedule and productions, and what you may not know is he's a certified drone specialist, and I would love to use that in our advantage with students and coming up years as well. I think that'd be neat, right? Having them come over, have a club or something? Is Jared upset when I'm suggesting? Yeah, he's like, maybe that's okay. And wrapping up our commitment to community with communications would be all the different events that you may or may not realize that we are behind the scenes on or actually making happen. Tools for Schools is our staff opening day marketplace, I like to call it. This is where I invite in multiple businesses and organizations that I think offer something to our staff to come on in, and they provide a gift or a giveaway or a goodie bag, and the staff can walk around and receive items. Family Welcome Back Night, we can call it rethought, revisited, 2.0, whatever we want. This past year, we had over 40 groups and organizations there, and this time we were looking for groups that can help our families and to learn more about not just what the community offers, but what our district can offer our families as well. And that was a very successful night. Soup with the Super is a collaboration with the Senior Center and seniors at our high school. We bring in seniors from the community, and then we have our seniors from the high school there and our administration. They listen to Mrs. Fitzpatrick, talk to them about what's happening in the district, and they enjoy some soup and salad. This year at the Royal Oak Spooktacular, we not only passed out candy and pencils, but we actually had National Art Honor Society students there, and they were painting faces. And I cannot even tell you how long those lines got sometimes, but that was our students just volunteering their time to work with us. We were glad to have that as well. During Teacher Appreciation Month, I'm knocking and calling on all those businesses' doors for gifts and goodie bags to support our teachers. In Juneteenth, we work with the city to promote and help with a beautiful event that they put on to honor the holiday. And the reason I put the staff newsletter on here is because what you may not realize is we have a trivia question that I actually get sponsored every month by a local business. And then when that staff member gets the trivia correct, they win a gift card. Sometimes it's $100. Marco's Pizza does $100, and sometimes it's $50. They can give whatever they want. I always say that when I ask for a minimum of 35. And then in the staff newsletter, we have the staff person with their name, congratulations, you won, and then we acknowledge that business again. So that's another different way that we connect. And then these last few events, Oak Ridge Wellness Rocks and Waltonwood was a collaboration we did in the spring where Waltonwood seniors and Oak Ridge students created over 400 different wellness positive message rocks. And we have them under that tree. It's getting covered by leaves, I have noticed, but there are leaves there. Yes, there are leaves there as well, but there are rocks there where anyone can pick up a rock and just have a nice positive message, put it in their pocket and carry it with them if they need it, or leave one. Of course, the Oakland 100 celebration had hundreds and hundreds of staff and family members and community members that attended, so we're very happy with that. Working with sustainability from the city, we're bringing, right now it's recycling to all of our schools and green teams, and eventually we're hoping to have composting bins as well in our schools. So that's something I'm working on as far as committees go and extra projects. Interclub Council is a group, I wonder how I wrote this down because I described it very well on paper. Interclub Council is a group of over 20 organizations in Royal Oak that are mostly nonprofit. And I'm the current president. We bring together these community groups and talk about how we can all collaborate together. And a lot of focus, and it helps a lot having someone from the schools there, a lot of focus is involving students and how can we get more volunteers and what can we do for the students. Scholarships was discussed at today's meeting, so there's a nice connection there. Blessings in a Backpack. I actually coordinate that with all our secretaries and our blessings coordinators at each school and make sure that food gets delivered and get the list updated every year. And lastly, the Royal Oak Women's Club. I'm on committees that promote civic engagement, volunteering in our community, and student involvement. Again, talking with them about what they can do with working with the schools they want to read to the students and whatnot. So, strategically connecting Royal Oak schools to the Royal Oak community and beyond. That is your communications department. Thank you. Wow. Any questions?
A lot of information.
Yes, I'm sorry. You will get this electronically in the board books and our statistics on the back end for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this communications is one of our committee, oh, Leilani.
I would like to state for the composting that I've seen that at the Royal Oak schools that has started those, and the people that wait there for the lunches, making sure that everything's going in the right bin. I would like to thank them for spending an hour and a half standing there watching every bin, making sure that everything gets clean right. And I am really happy that they have little grabbers so they don't have to put their hands in themselves. But I would also like to state that it's such a nice thing to have there. And I like how like easily cleaned it is, and so it doesn't just sit there the entire day and it's able to get cleaned up, because that would be an interesting smell to have. And I just appreciate the like attentiveness on that is going on in that project. And so I would like to thank you for working hard on that and making sure that it actually works out and works out properly, because I've seen so many things that have tried to work, and there have just been a few people that just don't work with it, and so it ends up not going well. And you've had everyone's full support, and I've seen so many things happening at the high school there.
Wonderful. Well, we thank the students for working on that. They are really making that happen.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Any questions? Oh, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Well, thank you, Ms. Murphy, for all the information. I do want to say that I think it was very fitting to have the strategic plan as the last slide in that presentation, because not only is there a goal directly written to increase the collaboration within the community and to tie us all together as Royal Oak Schools and the Royal Oak broader community, but also every one of the other goals are also supported by the way that we interact with our students, our staff, our parents, and then our broader community through all the businesses that Ms. Murphy talked about. I think that's very important for a district. When we reach out, we have things to give to the community, and the community always wants to support us. That Interclub Council, when you speak to the nonprofit leaders, and when I go to Chamber of Commerce events, nearly everyone around the circle, when we introduce ourselves, has somehow contributed to the school district, which just speaks to the level of support that we have here. And then watching all of the work of the students mentioned, all the projects that Ms. Murphy mentioned, means that our students are giving back to their own community and beyond, even when they go off to college, as you heard about from some of our seniors that we're working with in our co-op program. So I'm just really proud of the program that was built. I will reiterate what Ms. Van Heisma said, which is there is a communications committee of the board members in working with other folks. Mr. Conrad comes to that meeting as well as me and some other folks from the community. We always invite more community members, though, to join our board committees, and this is just one of them. We're working on a new and improved online form that our community members can fill out if they'd like to join a board committee. And we're hopeful to, throughout this school year, also highlight other committees and projects from the district that have a board presence, a direct board presence at them. So thank you to our board for supporting all of this work and for all of the endeavors here, and to Mr. Grissomer and all his hard work, often behind a screen, but always making sure things run well. So thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8 is our consent agenda. We have item 8.1, payment of expense. Oh, I skipped that. I wrote my notes under communications. Sorry, Mrs. Anderson, communication?
We received a few this month from Mandy Knotts, Steve Satan Juliana, and Kayla Johnson.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Item 8, consent agenda. We have 8.1, payments of expenses. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, consent agenda is passed. Item number 9, matters for discussion action, 9.1, superintendent report. Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Well, thank you. November was off to a very good start. There was an election in our nation, in our community, and I want to applaud our board members who will be returning and coming back again to the Board of Education, and also to Matt Wicke, who is in the audience tonight, for his election to our Board of Education. So we do appreciate all the service from board members and running the campaign and really representing the student, staff, and our community. So thank you for your service, and we'll formally recognize our board in January, but as the election took place, I just wanted to thank you for, again, putting your name out there and being supported by our community. We do have an item on the agenda for your consideration tonight, item 9.1.1, which is the second reading of revised and replaced or recommended policies and guidelines. This is also a small committee of the board that I work with, along with attorneys from our advisors in Neola. And this is the second reading meaning that our committee has already vetted the recommended changes. The board has had a chance at the previous month's meeting to look at those, and tonight is the second reading of those policies.
Thank you. Can we have a recommendation? Ms. Usinski?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the second reading of the policies and administrative guidelines being revised, replaced, and/or recommended as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes? Any discussion? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. Item 9.2, curriculum and instruction. Dr. Ioannis?
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heitzma. So for our Insight into Learning video this month, we're going to take a moment to focus on our Student Board of Education members. We talked a little bit about that earlier, the impact they have on the school community, and we're definitely happy to have them on board. Let me get that ready for us.
So a few years ago, our board members wanted to increase the voice of students. They wanted to hear from the students and find a way where they could directly interact with them. So each spring, there's an application that's posted for students. We do a lot of advertising. Then interviews are held, and from those interviews, the board members and I select students to, again, serve on either the finance and facility meetings or come to the regular board meetings.
I applied to be a student representative on the school board because I love Royal Oak, whether that's as a community or as a school, and I thought it would be a great way to get involved in my community and my school.
I originally applied because I was friends with one of the previous student representatives, and he encouraged me to, I was asking him a lot of questions about his role as the student representative, and after a while he encouraged me to apply myself, as well as because I was participating in I was going to a couple of the board lunches. And so hearing about the work that the people on the board did made me really interested in becoming involved in it myself.
I applied early on in my junior year. I saw something on the Instagram for the school, and I thought it was just a great way to get involved in the school in another way. I'm involved in a couple different ways, but I thought, why not add more? Why not add more to our school value and hopefully help the community?
I applied to be a student representative on the school board because at the time my mom was the PTSA president, and we got the email saying that they're looking for another school board representative. And I thought it'd just be nice to be able to work with my mom and have her be there. And she did step down for a little bit because she has other things to do with her new job. But I just thought it'd be really fun. I was really excited to just be part of the community because I moved here from Texas and I didn't really know what much to do, and it was actually a lot of fun joining the community here.
I applied to be a student representative on the school board because I realized there's issues that a lot of times students, they wouldn't be taken seriously from students and parents would have to step up, which is helpful, but a lot of issues that do pertain to students, it doesn't really help them in that sense.
Our responsibilities as a student board member look like acting as a liaison between the students to the teachers, and I bring those issues to the school board members, which hopefully can get resolved.
I'm one of the student board members who attends the finance and facilities meetings. So as of specific responsibilities, it is just attending those finance and facilities meetings and speaking at them when it's a situation that I think it's important that a student voice is heard. But beyond that, it's also just advocating for the student voice within the district.
I think what's really important is this year more than last year, we've had a lot more communication between different board members that are student representatives. And all we want to do is just kind of spread the awareness about what we do and who we are, which a lot of students don't know, and they continue to grow because it is really our third year doing it. I think student lunches is a big thing. You know, different people from the board are there, superintendents there, really just to voice any student's needs. Students can do that by talking to one of the board members or student representatives, but they can also do it during the lunches. They provide food. You're able to talk to them in like a safe and nurturing area of the school.
My responsibilities as a student board member are making sure that the word gets out of different things that we do, like the lunches. The next one is on November 1st. We do other things like the programs, the outside, like the Raven Rally that we did, and then the clubs that we do. And then coming to the meetings and being able to give the voice that the students aren't able to show up to the meetings, they're able to express that voice for them.
So I think having the children interact with our board where they can freely converse about the things that we do, hear from the students directly about how our decisions impact them or things that they'd like to see happen within their schools, or even in support of the things that are happening in their schools. It's nice to hear that as well.
I think after high school, this is definitely a great experience that I can have on with me. I think it benefits because I'm just able to look up to a lot of different types of people that are in our community and different people that have different sorts of jobs, and I'm able to kind of have different communication and trust with them. And they're able to see that from a younger age, and me being a senior in high school or even junior last year, that my voice does matter and our voices as students matter. So it's nice to kind of build that trust and communication with trusted adults.
I think it helps prepare me by giving me a lot of real-world experience. It allows me the opportunity to interact with especially adults outside of a school setting, and gives me the chance to really practice talking and having my opinion heard in like real world settings.
Being a school board member helps with preparing for after high school, because in whatever college you go to, I look forward to being a board member, whether that's in student government or within a club, and it's a great experience for that.
Being a board member helps with preparing for after high school because it helps you like speak up and not being afraid to bring up for issues that could be like concerning to like if you're planning on going to like school after, or just in general about like any social issues in life. As well, I think it helps you like take on a leadership role and kind of step up to that, and whether it makes you more confident doing that like in the future and whatever you plan to do.
I think as a school board member, I think it's really important to be a student. That's one of the biggest reasons why they wanted us on the school board. And I was fortunate enough to be a second year and be a returner, which a lot of the other students don't have. And it was nice to see that we are making progress and they want the student opinions. And, you know, it might not always be the most fun or important conversations, but it is important in the sense of we're able to relay that student view, which is really what they want. And I think it's an important thing that they continue to add and have more diversity in the students and the amount that we have on the different types of boards.
So thank you again to our student board members. I know at the elementary level, we start very early in helping students understand that they have a voice and their voice matters. I was able to take part at the Upton Elementary Student Senate induction recently, and again, it was encouraging to see the 4th and 5th grade students ready to lead their building, and we know the culmination is the opportunity they have here as high school students to be representative on the school board. So thank you for your time and talents and ability. On November 5th, our students were not in school, but we had an opportunity for morning professional development, a good 3 hours of time, which is a lot for us in education. Our teachers had Records Day in the afternoon. So part of what we wanted to focus on for all staff is artificial intelligence. We know that AI is up and coming and around in our world and our society. So we want to get an opportunity at the K-12 level to really bring in AI in our classroom and do it in a way that's meaningful for our teachers and students. So we had all staff take part in an AI survey and try to get an understanding of what teachers currently know about artificial intelligence and maybe how they use it in the classroom. The survey results will be used to help lead our district level team in incorporating some instructional practices around artificial intelligence. So we're excited about that. Also on November 5th at the elementary level, we focused on math and ELA. In regards to math, we gave our teachers in the DK to 5th grade level an opportunity to talk about some content standards and have some alignment around our math assessments and how we report them out to parents and families on the report card. Our group of ELA teachers that are currently doing the ELA pilot had some time to meet together and provide feedback on the units that they've been using. And as a reminder, we have 2 different resources being piloted in all of our buildings. So it gave them a chance to kind of talk about some next steps and a checkpoint throughout the year. Some interesting things happening at the secondary level as well. At the middle school, we had our high school representative, Ray McMahon, who works on our personal project. He came down to the middle school to help provide some professional development for our middle school staff regarding the personal project, which is a culmination of the MYP experience. So we're talking 6th through 10th grade. They have an opportunity to have this 10th grade personal project. And our middle school teachers are going to help with assessing and grading those projects this year. So we wanted to provide them some training on how to review those projects. And I think it's a nice idea to bring our 6th through 8 teachers into the process, since they started working with our MYP students once they entered the middle school. Last but not least, at the high school, they had a more of a direct focus on artificial intelligence throughout the day, not only just taking the survey, they also had some planned activities with Shana Ramin, our K-12 tech integration specialist, about ways they can experiment with AI in the classroom and how to use AI as a tool to help in their instructional practices. So a lot of time spent together learning, which is very important. So we were glad to have that opportunity on November 5th. And that is all I have for my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item 9.3, Finance and Facilities, Mrs. Abella.
Good evening. I have 3 items on tonight's agenda for your approval. 9.3.1 is for some new maintenance vehicles. It's for 1 van and 3 trucks with plows. We have about 15 vehicles in our maintenance fleet. We haven't had an opportunity to replace them in a couple of years. First, we had the pandemic and low vehicles, and then some other My Deal struggles. And just so that you're aware, this is part of our contract with ABM. It provides for some materials, equipment, trucks that those staff use. So this is not a expense of the general fund. This does come directly from funds from the ABM contract. Do you have any questions before you approve that? Okay.
Can we have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Cook?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with Gornofor for 1 transit van and 3 trucks and plows through cooperative bid pricing in the amount of $224,280.
Thank you. Can we have a second? Mrs. Haynes? Can we have a roll call, please?
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
This motion passes.
9.3.2 on tonight's agenda is the 2018 bond refunding resolution. The 2018 bonds were sold and back in 2018 and had an option to be called. So this is just replacement of that original debt. It's a savings to the taxpayers of approximately $400,000. We just began with our calls just this week with some of our partners around this. So do you have any questions before we move forward with that resolution?
It's not a question, it's a statement. We did cover all the things that are on the agenda at Facilities and Finance last week.
Thank you. That's a good distinction, because not only that, we have had in PFM our financial advisors to talk to the board and certainly in detail.
Mr. Jaworski.
So can you explain to the people watching and maybe even in the audience how this is causing a savings to the taxpayer? Where that $400,000 comes from?
Right. So the interest rate environment's lower than it was in 2018, so the bonds will have a lower interest rate. So over time, that means that the tax levy will actually go down each year a little quicker than we had it originally anticipated.
Okay. Well, everybody good? Do we have a resolution? Ms. Jasinski?
Resolved, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the 2025 refunding bonds resolution as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Alexander, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski? Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yep.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Motion passes.
And 9.3.3 on tonight's agenda is for the purchase of a temporary generator that will be permanently mounted on a trailer. 3 of our buildings in the district do not have generators specifically on the building. And just as a reminder, these generators that we do have are for critical systems. It's to protect our assets. It's to run the walk-in refrigerator and freezer at Royal Oak High School. They run the HVAC system, so if we lose power during the winter, the buildings don't freeze. It is not enough power to run the building to have school, but this is very important, obviously. When we have some of these wind storms, it knocks out quite a bit of power lines, and during those cold months, leaves those buildings vulnerable. So this would purchase that generator that would be able to be transported to whatever building needed it. And just as a point of reference, we also do have a vendor that if we needed more than one, we already have identified a vendor that we could also rent from.
Thank you. Can we have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Alexander?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with Wolverine Power Systems for 1 portable trailer-mounted generator through cooperative bid pricing in the amount of $61,165.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes, can we get a roll call, please?
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yep.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Anything
That's
more?
all I have this evening. Thank you.
Any questions? Item 9.4, Staff and Student Services. Mr. Walensky.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Van Heitzma. I have a brief report as well this evening. I have 2 items for your consideration for approval. And I'll start with item 9.4.1 is a recommendation to renew our unclassified employee contracts with a 3% increase for 12 unclassified employees. And by unclassified, I mean they don't belong to one of our 4 bargaining units. And those contracts were linked in the agenda this evening.
Any questions? Can we have a recommendation, please? Ms. Jasinski?
Quiet tonight. Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the unclassified employee contracts as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
This motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And secondly, item 9.4.2 is our personnel report. And I'm a little surprised, as you might be, by how lengthy it is. We have 20 changes since we last met. And good news is 18 of them are new hires. 2 of them are retiree announcements, and I'll talk about those after. I'll just go through quickly a breakdown of those recommendations for hire. 4 paraprofessionals. We're still in need of paraprofessionals, but we've been able to secure 4 in the past month. 3 new teachers, 2 school social workers, 2 speech and language pathologists, 1 secretary for the special education department, which has been vacant for some time, 1 office clerk for Keller, which we were finally able to fill, 2 accompanists, pianists for the fall production at Royal Oak High School. They're 2 retired educators that we rehired to come back. 1 counselor for a position that is funded with 31A grant-funded positions, so not an academic counselor, but a mental health counselor, funded with these grant funds to serve Churchill and Royal Oak Middle School. And we're rehiring Kathy Knapp to serve as a substitute counselor for a substitute at Royal Oak High School is taking a leave of absence. So Kathy's in easy choice. She knows the job. We don't employ substitutes who are retired educators through EduStaff. Typically, we employ substitutes through EduStaff to save the 30 or to avoid the 36% we contribute to retirement. Because they're already retired, we don't contribute to retirement, and then we just avoid the 18% fee that we pay to EduStaff, with just an explanation as to why we're rehiring Kathy. And, you know, fortunately, she is able to fill in. The 2 retirement notifications come, I may have mentioned this in my Friday report, but Patty O'Leary Dunn is a elementary level teacher consultant. That's a special education teacher position at at the elementary level. She's housed at Keller. She has been employed by Royal Oak Schools since September of 1995, so for 29 years. And Margie Martin, Dr. Ioannis' administrative assistant for, to the executive director for curriculum instruction. And Margie has been employed with the district since September of 94, so 30 years. And those are the personnel changes for this month.
Mrs. Cook?
Yeah, so I have a question. Just, we invite, all of our hires at the start of the school year to be introduced to the board. And do we have plans to invite these hires at a time earlier than next start of school year?
Well, the world has changed, and we're hiring people year-round now. It used to be that we could capture all of our new hires and do them all at once in September, but that's a good consideration, something we should talk about, because we just hired 18 new people that we might want to introduce mid-year if they're able to make it. But I'll discuss that with Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Mrs. Haynes?
Just a shout out to Mrs. Knapp, if she's watching, welcome back. She is amazing. They're lucky to have her back. She was always great to both my kids. They love her. So it's just good to see her name back.
Very well loved, very kind person, yes.
Mrs. Alexander?
You mentioned we hired 4 paras. Do you have an idea of how many paras we are still in need of? Just approximately is fine.
Yes, I'm sorry to say that. We are in need of 9 paraprofessionals. I wish I had better news, but we're in need of 3 at Adams Elementary, 3 at Keller Elementary, 1 at Northwood Elementary, and 2 at Upton Elementary. We're in constant search of paraprofessionals, and I got to give credit to Rob Dedeker for interviewing on a daily basis and making offers of employment. But we move people around as needed to provide that required support for students. But we could currently use 9 more paraprofessionals. I'm happy to say almost all of our other positions are filled. We have an ASD teacher vacancy at Oakland Elementary we're still working on filling, as I've been updating you. But we do have a good long-term substitute in the position for now until we get someone certified.
Mr. Walensky, could you just speak to what qualifications does somebody need to be a paraprofessional in case there's anybody out there who may consider it?
We require a high school graduate at least, preferably some experience working with students. A college degree is not required to work as a paraprofessional. Desire to work with students.
Thank you. Can we have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolved, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the regular personnel changes as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Can we have a second, Mrs. Haynes? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Just one last thing, I can give you a brief enrollment update. I know you're tired of hearing about enrollment, but our enrollment packets, I got to give credit to our pupil accountant, Sarah Muller, and our building secretaries and administrator for collecting all of that information and getting it submitted by the November 13th deadline to Oakland schools. It's a pretty big task. All of that was submitted by the deadline. We are down a little bit. There is a fluctuation to be expected when you have close to 5,000 students, but overall from last year to this year, our total enrollment is down 27.62. Last fall we had 4,865 FTEs. This fall we have 4,837 FTEs. We're actually up about 63 students in grades pre-K through 5, so our elementary enrollment is up a little bit, so this fluctuation will change, you know, as they move through the grades. But we were down 40 students at the high school and 40 students approximately at the middle school and 7 at Churchill. It's not uncommon to have kids move out of state, go to private schools, what have you, but we're a little bit down from last year, but hopefully that'll change this next year.
Fitzpatrick?
Thank you, Mr. Walensky, for those numbers, and it reminds me, I'll remind the board that what we are doing with the exit data, which I can get from the enrollment group and we have those messages and spreadsheets out to our principals at each of the buildings just to talk about, we know why students leave. We often get a reason code that we put within our system, where they went, what other districts are requesting their records. But it is the principals and the teachers that have worked with them that really know the stories behind it. We're also finding a lot of families moving mid-year in and out of the district, which is actually how we were able to talk about the number of new students in elementary. The number of students coming in mid-year, we just talked with a parent today who's bringing her child here probably right after Thanksgiving. So that has changed quite a bit as well. But I will be collecting all of that data, and I'll be able to share with you all of the reason codes and major reasons why we've had so much change in and out of the district over the last year.
Thank you. Yeah, I know we've talked about that a bit before, so it's actually good for us to understand what the trends are. So I appreciate that. You're done, Mr. Walensky?
That's all I have, thank you.
Just picking on you. Item number 10 is second public comment. Same rules apply as before. She left, okay. Item number 11, board comments and liaison reports. This is where we provide committee updates and reports. First, Arts and Preservation, Mrs. Anderson.
This will be very short. We had a very short meeting the other day. We had a very small gathering, small but mighty, as you say. We are making some progress. We finalized our plans for to celebrate and commemorate the Longfellow Lintel that's over at Roms. And so soon we'll be making progress on that. And basically it was a goal-setting session, and we all went home with a little bit of homework to do. But we'd love to have anybody here or listening or watching join us. It's a great committee, and I think we're going to get some good things done this year.
Do you have a next committee date? As you mentioned, request, okay. But people can go to the district website to find when our committee dates are, because those are posted. So. City School Liaison, Ms. Usinski.
We had a nice time meeting. The City Schools Committee meets quarterly. And it's a team of people from Royal Oak Schools and a team of people from city government and leaders to talk about ways that we can all work together. The two main issues that we talked about at this month's meeting was a grant that we currently have and are going to pursue in the future called Safe Routes to Schools. That is ways for our community and for our schools to invest in different ways for students to get safely to schools. So it's money to invest in both some physical changes to our property, additional signage, you know, all different things like that. We discussed the need for a few additional crossing guards, and the Royal Oak Police Department is also represented at these meetings, and so that's who that position goes through. And then we also talked about the district's ongoing efforts with sustainability. So Leilani, I was really excited to hear you say that that is going well and that you've noticed that around the high school. We're just really working hard at all of the schools and from the district level and through all of the work that, through all the wonderful work that Amy Murphy's doing, just to make sure that that access and the knowledge and information about sustainability is equal in all of our buildings, right? And like Amy mentioned, that work right now is to bringing up to make sure that in the classrooms and in the buildings we have recycling, composting, equitable across the district, that we're making sure that everybody understands how to use it, that our custodians and janitorial staff make sure that the recycling is getting in the recycling, all different things like that. But the composting is really exciting. So if you are talking to your students at home and they're maybe talking a little bit more about some of their product packaging or where straws go or anything like that, it's all thanks to our green teams. So that's some exciting stuff.
Thank you. I was excited about the worms for sustainability. That was a pretty cool, exciting thing.
I didn't know if I should talk about that yet, but yes, worms might be on their way.
Curriculum, Mrs. Cook.
Thanks. So at the last meeting, we refined our mission statement, and while I don't have that in front of me right now, I could say that the gist is that, on our curriculum committee, the district curriculum team is sharing information with the whole committee, and the committee shares information back, all for the betterment of our overall curriculum. We talked about some grant-supported INS, individuals and societies, I think, social studies opportunities, and for staff as well as students. We talked about, and you stole my thunder on this a little bit, the ELA curriculum pilot that was going to be discussed at PD Day. We talked a bit about the iReady implementation. And we have 3 more meetings upcoming, January 21st, March 26th, May 13th, from 6 to 7, and I believe we meet right here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Wellness Committee, Ms. Alexander, sorry.
Thank you. We met and we talked a little bit about the composting, and we heard from Mike Jacobs and talked about the healthy options, menu options, as well as the health of the earth with some of the new things that we're doing related to composting and recycling and how that's rolling out at the high school. We talked about partnerships with the community to increase things like opportunities for families to learn more about vaping and prevention strategies and ways to harness that. Some of our PTAs do a good job of leveraging and having those, but we like to see it more uniform across the district. We learned a little bit about the Fentanyl Fathers presentation that the high school students attended, which sounds like that was really powerful and hopefully something that we'll continue to engage with. We talked a bit about future initiatives, and some of those were things like suicide prevention programming. What does that look like? Making sure that we get a student on our committee. We've had that in the past, and I think that's a really important voice. We talked about the need to look at, again, uniformity across schools and districts for educational opportunities, particularly around assemblies or things related to health and wellness. And we are meeting again on December 11th.
Thank you. And I have what I call a special non-committee committee report. So I'd like to take this opportunity, and with Ms. Patrick's help here, to recognize one of our fellow board members, Lauren Usinski, for the College of Education Alumni Award.
Thank you. And yes, congratulations out to Lauren on being recognized by the Michigan State University College of Education. What's that? Oh, yeah. College of Education Alumni Awards that were held in October of 2024, so go green. These annual awards celebrate alums across the college for their significant contributions to their field, their communities, the college, and the university. So what was written about Ms. Usinski is the Civic Education Specialist for the Levin Center of Oversight and Democracy in Detroit currently. She's also a steering committee member and Michigan Education Association liaison for End Gun Violence Michigan. Previously, Usinski was a middle school and high school social studies teacher at Oxford Public Schools in Michigan. Among her many efforts outside of the classroom, she regularly advocates for and supports student and staff mental health and well-being. For example, she coordinated a program in Oxford schools now I lost my spot, that supported the mental health and wellness and ninth graders and their transition then into high school. She's also been an active leader in a professional learning community that focused on student learning and achievement. She conducted mental health fairs and a program called Wildcat Wellness out in Oxford, which was eventually adopted by the entire public school district there. She survived the tragic shooting at Oxford High School in November of 21, and the experience impacted her profoundly, leading her to her current career path. And I quote, "The College of Education and the Department of Teacher Education strive to create educators that value diversity, equity, inclusion, civic awareness, media literacy, democratic participation, and social justice." And that was written by one individual who nominated her for this award. Lauren has taught and modeled these tenets as an educator and a citizen. She represents the ideal Spartan teacher through her pedagogy, leadership, civic engagement, and public policy advocacy. And so with great pride, I just want to congratulate you on being recognized by MSU and also for being a very active and supportive board member here in Royal Oak Schools. So thank you for your service and for your wonderful award.
And she coincidentally wore green today, which is unplanned, totally unplanned. So thank you, Lauren, and we're so proud of you for this recognition. And it speaks volumes to the work that you do and continue to do every day for students. So thank you so much for that. That takes us on to any other board comments and liaison reports. Mr. Jaworski?
Just take the opportunity to thank the voters of Royal Oak for returning me to the school board, and congratulations to Ms. Van Heitzma, Mr. Wiki, who's out there, and Mrs. Alexander, who through my research, I think may be the highest vote-getting school board member in the history of Royal Oak.
Thank you. Well, that was my thunder. You just stole my thunder. I was going to thank everybody. But I know that I'm grateful for the service of Tim and Erica for their 4 years that they've been a part of the school board. And I think I'm proud to say that we work well together, and I'm grateful for that because that means a lot, right? We don't always agree on everything, but we certainly are able to work together, which is really what this is about. And we're grateful to be able to serve our community, our staff, our families, our kids. So it's really important to us. So I do have a couple items. Just a clarification, the next student lunch is December 6th. I looked it up. So it's Friday, December 6th. So look forward to that opportunity to meet with more students yet again. And just a huge thank you again, as I mentioned, to Mr. Jacobs and the staff for providing the lunches that they do for the student lunches. Also, the high school drama thing was mentioned, the production this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can buy tickets on rohsdrama.com. And I also want to give a shout out to Northwood Elementary Daisy Troop. They invited me to come speak to the Daisy Troop as an elected official. And I was warned their attention span is somewhat limited. But it was just, and everybody knows I'm a crier, right? So as I'm walking out the door, we had a little conversation, but they all came up and gave me a big hug, which of course started me crying. So it was just a great opportunity. And then after leaving them, I stopped in to talk with the principal, Molly, at Northwood, and she directed me to the robotics kids who were meeting after school. So I was able to witness the elementary robotics kids. And our high school students were there as mentors to the elementary students, as well as parents and some staff. So that was just like an amazing thing to see, which kind of piggybacked on my opportunity to stop at the middle school this past weekend and see our middle school team, robotics teams, compete and actually host an event. A lot of kids with a lot of energy and a lot of robots. So it was just a great thing to see actually in the course of a week, to see that transition from our elementary kids to our middle school kids and our high school kids, and just how once we engage kids at that young age, how their interests can continue to flourish and continue onward through high school. So that's just really a kind of cool thing to see. So I was really grateful for that opportunity. And I wanted to give a shout out to Michelle and Tim for attending the MASB conference as well, and providing us with some, I know, debriefing about that. So a part of our volunteer job is, to be as educated as we possibly can as well. And so there's always opportunities through the MASB organization, through OCSBA. We're always learning as well. And I think that's important. And thank you to our students again for being here. And I loved your video, so that's pretty cool. Anybody else? Seeing none, item number 12, we're adjourned. Thank you.